will be moving in this direction, and then it's going to be breaking the hydrogen bonds between the two strands of DNA, and each of the two strands are being pulled apart. Those two strands will not stay apart unless they're kept apart. So we need something else to help out here. There are other proteins that come in called single-strand binding proteins. So the single-strand binding proteins attach to the single strands of DNA that have now been pulled apart to keep them from reattaching to each other. The hydrogen bonds between the two strands are attractions between partial positive and negative charges. We need to keep them apart so the rest of the process can work. All right, shortly after this happens, we're then going to get, this in here, we're going to get a Primates enzyme to come in. And Primase will then start to build RNA primers. We'll have to have this happening on both strands so that the DNA polymerase can work once we get to that point. All right, so first we've got the helicase pulling them apart, single-strand binding proteins keeping them apart, and then a primase coming in making the primers. So here we're looking at DNA replication, and the first thing that's going to happen here is an enzyme called helicase. Helicase is going to come in and it's going to pull the two DNA strands apart. So it's breaking the hydrogen bonds in between the two strands. And as it pulls the two strands apart, the strands need to stay apart. If they are not kept apart, they'll just go back together again. That's what happens during transcription. So here's what we're going to have to happen. Or what happens here is these guys here are proteins, single-strand binding proteins. And the single-strand binding proteins will attach to these single strands of DNA, keeping them apart so the rest of the enzyme is going to attach and begin to do their job. All right, one of the next enzymes that's going to come in and work at this stage here is going to be the enzyme called primase. So primase enzyme is going to be the one that will make these short little RNA primers that are made along the single strand of DNA. And at that point, then the DNA polymerase will be able to come in and start to build the new strands of DNA along these templates.